Guys, let's continue the presentation of the RadCORE project. Well, let's look now at one of our demo examples, from the general RadCORE demo on specifically forms. So, look at what it is that we have here, the variety of layouts that you can get with the right standard of resources, with the amount of resources that RadCORE is going to offer you. Let's give you an overview, so see that here I have edit fields without the complete filling of our edit field, with internal icons. I have here float labels. These resources use absolutely nothing of HTML, as we have mentioned before, they are all resources of the dynamic attributes of the RadCORE. We have here an example of an inline form, where I have a side label. I have here examples of masked fields, of fields that generate dynamic buttons with resources also linked in a dynamic way. Let's look at these buttons. Some examples here of radio group, some examples here of switch. Without using any HTML, you're just going to use the attributes of RadCORE. Examples of form calls in a dynamic way. We have our menu, which we're going to have a video specifically just about our dynamic menu, but you're going to be able, at any part of your project, to make dynamic calls from your forms and even call presenting a specific record, editing a specific record, by inserting a new record. We can make frame calls inside a container. We can pass parameters to make the call of our form and that form perform an action given the parameter passed. We can open frames in a modal way. Remembering that only forms are modal, but RadCORE has a feature that allows us to open a frame in a modal way. And here, other layout variations, where I've got here what I've named form fields. UNIGUI itself has a feature called field labels, where you just put your edit field, edit, you don't need to put a label and the label creates dynamically. The same thing is happening here. I'm going to have edit fields where I don't have my label, but I can have a much wider range of resources. I can pass specific CSS to that label. I can have the responsiveness of those labels. So look at all of these examples here. Oh, and let's see, then, the in responsive mode. So all of our components adjusted, maybe that our inline, our label went here to the top, such, everything's responding, such, so all of our forms, the labels wire, they're going to automatically. Only the ones that are on the side go to the top, the ones that are on the bottom stay on the bottom because they don't affect the responsive layouts. So you see the variety of layout options that you can get by utilizing such the features of RadCORE quickly. Let's look at some of those features then. For example, the float label. So, once again I'm opening up here our RC elements and see what I've got. It's the float label. It's just it. It works only with this attribute. I'm just adding some others here so that I do a color change, okay, a background color, okay, a lebo color, I'm disabling the hover color, okay, I can do that on any component you want to disable the hover color, I can make that option, okay, so we've got these items here where You generate it, so I don't have code, I don't need code to create these resources here from RadCORE. Okay, so as you can see I don't have any events in my component. Okay, so any component, right, the label is right, the same as you're seeing, I can create. Here a float label right and use this feature that is very cool. Okay, what is it that? And we have more here, our other form example, where we have masks as you saw. I'm going to open up here the RC elements and we have here two attributes. I have the mask attribute that applies the handset mask. Here I'm going to make a call that this here is a specific thing for Brazilian users. It's a phone with DDD. It doesn't apply to users outside Brazil. And I have here another attribute which is the dial. So we have here two very interesting features that generate a very cool effect in the application, and that if this were done at the code level, it would certainly generate a few lines of code, not to mention if you were to use these. Resources in various forms. Here in RadCORE you don't code, you just apply an attribute and you're going to get the resource. Okay, so let's go, let's see here what the dial is, right, and let's see the mask again, what our application, and then oh, I have here the my mask is okay. And what is the dial, guys? Oh, the dial is this little button here that was added on the side of our edit field. Notice that at project time I don't have any button here. I don't have any events attached to this button. Okay, so we just have our dynamic attribute dial. Okay, so this attribute, the colic radio, when it detects it, it's going to automatically adjust the dimensions here in our edit field, and it's going to insert a button with the phone icon. What's that for? If you have accessing the application on a cell phone, and you type the phone number here, click on the dial, it will automatically open your phone's dialer. So it's a useful resource for those who are going to use something in this sense, in a customer register, for example, for you to make a direct call to yours customer. Some more examples down here. Let's see here this ID field, which I also put. I'm going to do an additional example. So my ID I'm putting here a custom mask. Okay, it's not a ready-made mask. Okay, the RadCORE, it's going to have several effects, right, and several features of predefined masks that you will be able to use and easily implement new masks. Okay, but I can also customize. Simply I can put my characters here and create a new mask. So I'm creating a 99.99 edit mask here. Okay, and then I'm creating people, a very interesting resource here, like this, which is valid. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, and then we're going to talk about our clipboard. Okay, so just like the tile, the clipboard attribute is going to generate an icon here on the side, and automatically if you write some content in your edit and click here, it's going to copy the content for the clipboard. So you can do that in some situations that you need to. Okay, you just put the attribute and the button will be added automatically. Okay, to close here the idea of these dynamic components, which we are going to have here our link component, as I said. I'm going to talk about valid in a bit. So, the link component, it is nothing more than the inclusion of a button to call a link from a website. This field here, if I write, for example, the RadCORE site and click on link button, it's going to open the site that's inside our edit field. Okay. But once again, remembering this, I don't have any events, it's all the task of the link attribute. Okay, so it's another very interesting resource that you have at your disposal. Okay, so coming back here now further down our form labels, so let's see some variations. Okay then. Our label opening the parameters here, you'll see that you're going to have several options. Okay, so each of these labels here is being positioned differently, so I'm putting different alignments, the label title, all in a single line, without having a lot of work messing with several. Properties. So that makes it a lot easier to use. Here's a more complex example, where I can define the size of my label, where I can pass an attribute to my label. This attribute I can be passing here an icon. This icon I want it to be linked to the current caption of my label, okay? I'm going to have a label, but I'm going to have an icon linked to it. I can be applying a color, okay, so all these features, we're already more advanced applications, okay, but you have at your disposal to create these results here that you're following. All of this generates a nice visual result in your application. This is the identification of this video that brings these benefits in the creation of applications. And in the next video, we're going to talk about dynamic validation. See you soon.